Roll20 is a new virtual tabletop for playing pen and paper RPGs online. It focuses on enhancing storytelling and camaraderie rather than accomplishing specific game mechanics. It's completely web-based, so there's nothing to install or configure, and it's incredibly easy to get started. Here's a quick overview of what it can do. Here's the main Roll20 interface. We're currently logged in as the Game Master, or GM. In the middle is the core piece of the interface, the virtual tabletop. Let's invite a player to join our game. Notice the player link that shows up here when you first log in. To invite players to your game, you simply send them this link. When a player joins, there is an optional video chat feature that automatically starts up. The built-in video and voice chat can support up to 10 players simultaneously and requires no difficult setup or configuration. As a player, by default, I can't edit or move any of the pieces on the tabletop. We'll change that a little later. Even though there's now a player joined and we're playing together, I can still keep editing. So in addition to preparing in advance, you can also improvise as needed by adding new tokens or even entire pages to the campaign to respond to your player's actions. On the right-hand side is a chat system. You can speak out of character or in character. This is also where you can choose to use the role system just by typing a quick formula. There's also full support for whispering to other players or the GM. All of the chat is persistent between play sessions, so you can always review what's happened previously. The core building block of Roll20 is the campaign. Like a storybook, each campaign is comprised of multiple pages. The pages can be anything you want, but usually they'll be either an image, like a map or a portrait of a major NPC, or the page will represent an encounter with a map and tokens, just like a real tabletop. As the GM, you can switch between pages at any time. The page that the players are on, though, is represented by the player bookmark. Just move it to any page, and the players in the game automatically switch to that page. So a typical play session starts on a page, you do the encounter or talk to the NPC, then move the players to the next page, and so on. To edit the pieces on the tabletop, use the toolbar. There are 3 layers: a background mapped layer, a tokens layer, and a top layer that only the GM can see, useful for marking things like traps. Everything you can do on the tabletop, like moving or resizing a token, is immediately broadcast to all the players in real time. You can use the art library to quickly find maps, tiles, and tokens to use in your campaign. For example, let's add a dragon token. There are some built-in assets, and the library also searches the web automatically to find art to use on the popular RPG forums and sites. You can also star results, and the next time you search for that keyword, that item will appear at the top of the list. This lets you build up your own personal library of art assets that fit into your campaign world. When you find the piece you want, just drag and drop it onto the tabletop and it's added. Since we're on the tokens layer, it's added as a token. You can, of course, upload your own custom art that you've created or downloaded just by dragging and dropping it from your desktop onto the tabletop. The journal allows you to create characters and notes that you and the players can refer to. You'll probably want to create characters for your PCs as well as any major NPCs. You can add in an avatar, add in notes the players can see, as well as notes that only the GM sees. You might put a description of what the character is like, and maybe in the GM field, what's in their inventory or what interactions the PCs have had with that NPC in the past. By default, only the GM sees the characters, but you could easily add them to the players' journals as well by typing their name. Finally, you can choose to give a player the ability to control any tokens that are represented by this character on the tabletop, which you'll want to do for your player characters. The tokens on the tabletop have a number of settings you can change to customize their behavior. You can designate that a token represents a character from the Journal tab, which is how you let your PCs control the tokens that represent their characters on each page. You can also designate if the token has a turn during encounters, do basic health and mana tracking, set up auras around the token to track areas of effect, and choose if you want the players to see any of those bars or auras. Finally, you can also add markers to the token to represent status effects like bloodied. A common missing piece of RPG sessions is music. Roll20's Jukebox feature helps solve this issue in a simple way. To start, just click the Add button. You can type any keyword like dungeon into the box, and Roll20 will search the SoundCloud library for music to include. We've also set up some filtering in the background that tries to find music that's appropriate for use as background music. You can preview the track. When you find one you like, just click Add, and it gets added to your jukebox. Now, when you play the track, all of the players will hear it playing as well. You can also control the volume to make it fade into the background, or surge to be the focal point. And you can also play multiple tracks at once. Roll20 features an easy-to-use fog of war mechanic as well. Just turn it on for any page, and by default the entire page is hidden from players, represented by this semi-opaque overlay, which appears completely opaque to players. If you want to reveal an area of the page, just choose the Reveal tool and drag to select the area to be revealed. There's also a turn tracker. It's shown to everyone in the game, although only the GM can reorder the entries. Change the numbers to represent initiative or any other stat you want to keep quick track of, then just drag and drop to reorder as the battle takes place. When the encounter is over, just close the window. The turn tracker doesn't enforce any particular rules, it's just a quick tool to help the GM and players keep track of turn-based encounters. Finally, Roll20 features a powerful macros system to let you store and reuse rolls and chat messages. For example, you can create a macro for your most used attack and damage rolls. Then, in the chat window, just type #attack, and it will insert the roll automatically. You could also create a macro for a few battle cries. That's the basics of Roll20. As long as this video is, there's still a lot more to talk about, and we'll be adding more videos to explain each part in further detail. Thanks for watching.